For more on this, I'm joined by Asia political analyst Ross Darrell Feingold. Ross, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. With a record 9.5 billion trips expected during this year's Lunar New Year rush, can the holiday travel boom really deliver the economic boost Beijing is so hoping for?
It can't hurt. People traveling and spending on transportation, spending on gifts. It can only be good for the economy. But the underlying challenges that China's economy has won't be addressed by 1 week of mostly domestic spending on travel and gifts or restaurants and things like that. The real estate problems and the crisis in the real estate sector, that is not going to be resolved by the New Year holiday, and policymakers have struggled to resolve that. And of course, there's the challenges that authorities have with growing export markets outside of the United States, given the higher tariffs imposed by the Trump administration. So New Year's is certainly good for the economy, but it's not a problem solver per se.
And in Chinese folklore, fire horse years are considered volatile or intense. Looking at the current geopolitical landscape, do you think the Chinese government will weave this into its policy making, or is it just largely symbolic? You did mention to me trade with the US, tariffs. There's a lot going on.
Every year around this time, whenever the new Lunar or Chinese New Year begins, there's always an enormous amount of analysis about what this year means as far as the zodiac cycle and the specific animals and other details in the cycle. But does that really have an effect on what Chinese policymakers do, or what kind of messages that they want to put in the media with regard to domestic policy, economic policy, foreign policy? The answer is probably no. And in fact, the Communist Party would probably prefer that there isn't too much discussion about things like the zodiac, because it doesn't really fit into the messaging that they prefer, which is simply that they're on the ball and they have good ideas and good policies to move the country forward, whether that's with regard to domestic policy or foreign policy. So it's actually not consistent with the party's narrative that there's too much focus on the zodiac and the zodiac cycle, but it is also unavoidable because it is tradition. There will always be lots of discussion about that.
Indeed. And China's most watched show had spotlight these amazing humanoid robots and AI. I found it absolutely fascinating. I don't know if you watched it, but it was pretty incredible. Is the performance becoming a showcase for Beijing's industrial ambitions as the tech race with the US continues?
China certainly has strengths in the AI competition with the United States or other countries. For starters, it has an enormous amount of talent. Not just because the population is large, but because so many people do study the hard sciences, whether that's mathematics, physics, engineering. So they're very good on talent, but they are still behind on the most advanced semiconductor chips, and specifically the chips that are used in AI applications. They are catching up without a doubt. This is a question of time and money. But at the moment, as far as where the most advanced chips are manufactured, it's still here in Taiwan, where I'm speaking from, and China is struggling to catch up with that. And it doesn't help China that the United States has imposed restrictions, and there's ongoing discussions about more advanced chips being being exported from the United States to China. But at the moment, China is still racing to catch up. But no doubt, they have huge strengths in AI and in robotics, and that's not just in civilian applications, but of course in military applications as well.
And Ross, with President Trump weighing new weapons for Taiwan, will this decision escalate tensions with China or signal stronger US support for Taipei?
President Trump announced, or his administration announced, an approximately $11 billion with a B, US dollar weapon sale to Taiwan in December. That continues a long-time U.S. policy to sell weapons to Taiwan. I mean, that's a many decades policy from the Cold War up until now. What we don't know is whether or not going forward, the remaining 3 years of the Trump administration, is President Trump going to take the position that, well, I continued previous U.S. policy by offering Taiwan a very large weapon sale early in my administration within the first year, but I'm not going to do it again. This is what we don't know. President Trump could take the view that in the interest of U.S.-China relations, he won't offer another sale to Taiwan, or he might very well take the view that because of the threat from China to Taiwan, he will offer another weapon sale to Taiwan in the next 3 years. We simply don't know the answer at the moment.
And before I let you go, Ross, you sound a little bit skeptical on the Chinese zodiac, but I'd love to know what your Chinese zodiac is, because I have been checking with my whole team today what their Chinese zodiac is and what the year of the fire horse might mean for them. So what is yours?
Well, I was born in the year of the tiger, and the best thing I could tell you is I should not mix with other tigers.
Guess what? I was born in the year of the tiger too. So we're mixing. Well, I don't know what that means for the show. We're a good match. We're a good tiger match. But absolutely, I was having a look at what it means for me. Year of the tiger, they say we're very ambitious, courageous, well-traveled. And I think that's a good, strong sign to be. And we're going to apparently have lots of money this year. So thank you so much for joining me, Ross.
Thank you.
Thank you.